Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on the benchmarked certification programs within the Ethical Charter Implementation Program, or ECIP, as it's commonly known. ECIP is an industry collaboration led by major buyers and suppliers committed to supporting the entire produce supply chain on a continuous improvement journey towards more responsible labor practices. ECIP is guided by an advisory group that includes Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Kroger, Target, and McDonald's, along with 4 of their suppliers. My name is Madeline Edlin, Product Marketing Manager for Equitable Food Initiative, or EFI. EFI serves as the supporting organization that manages ECIP's software platform and provides technical support. Today, we will be focusing on the benchmark certifications within ECIP. With us today, we will have 3 representatives from 3 of the 16 benchmark certification programs. We will have an opportunity to dig into a deep dive Q&A with them in just a few minutes, but before we get any farther, a few housekeeping items. We did reserve time at the end to respond to any questions, so feel free throughout, if a question comes up, to put it in the chat if you're in Zoom or in the comment section if you're on LinkedIn Live, and we will gather up all of those and answer them at the end. We are recording this session and it will be available in your email in the next few days. Also, anybody who registered will get it in their email. So if you had a buddy register, but they weren't able to show up, don't worry, they'll get this in the next couple of days. Finally, we have Alexandra Martinez from my team here doing technical support. So if you see her name or if one of us yells, Alexandra, help, that's why. She's wonderful and makes sure these go smoothly. So without further ado, I would like to bring up Sky Navarro, Senior Data Associate with EFI, who works on the ECIP support team. Sky, can you here? Hi, welcome.
Hi, thanks Madeline for that introduction. As Madeline mentioned, I am the Senior Data Associate for EFI Lab. In this webinar, I'll be focusing on ECIP Lab, where I provide data and technical support for the platform. All right, if we can go to the next slide. Great. So ECIP was created to align the fresh produce industry with the Ethical Charter on Responsible Labor Practices and put real action behind its principles. Through ECIP Lab, growers and suppliers can learn, assess, and benchmark their labor management practices using self-assessment tools and resources. The platform aims to promote industry-wide capacity building, showcase operations who are leaders in social responsibility, and provide tools for continuous improvement. One way ECIP highlights leaders in social responsibility is by recognizing operations that have obtained a social responsibility certification. The ECIP team worked with the Sustainability Consortium, TSC, experts in certification programs. TSC benchmark programs against the Ethical Charter on Responsible Labor Practices, approving those that scored over 80% alignment to the Charter. By integrating certification, ECIP recognizes the work certified growers have already done, while also supporting others on their journey towards stronger labor practices and continuous improvement. We can go to the next slide. Why is certification important in ECIP and how certified growers can get recognition in the system? Certification is an important part of ECIP Lab because it recognizes and rewards growers who have already made a strong commitment to responsible labor practices. Certified growers receive a gold star on their engagement profile, the highest level of recognition. Growers that have earned a gold star reflect as highly engaged in their supplier's engagement profile. This is one of the ways a supplier earns one of their many stars. The grower's gold star continues to reflect highly for their supplier in the buyer dashboard via the supplier's engagement profile. The buyers also see the percentage of growers in the supply chain that have a gold star. How can certified growers still maximize the usage of ECIP Lab? Certified growers can still gain significant value from Grower Lab's features, even if they hold a benchmark certification. Grower Lab provides growers access to tools for self-reflection, continuous improvement, and resource access. Through the Learning Channel, growers gain best practices and industry insights, strengthening management systems while earning green stars on their engagement profile. The Assessment Channel helps evaluate the current state of systems, while the Benchmark Channel tracks progress and compares engagement to industry standards. It's a secure internal tool. Responses are confidential, helping teams collaborate and track improvements without that external pressure. Certified growers earn the gold star by emailing their certification to support at ethicalcharterprogram.org for validation. Once verified, you'll get both the gold star and a complimentary subscription.
Thanks, Guy. You're an expert. If you've ever emailed the support at ethicalcharterprogram.org, you've probably heard from Sky. She is our go-to support tech support person and is also just lovely. Great. With that, I would like to bring up our certification programs. If you all would join me on stage, we will be joined by 3 of our programs here. Yay, looks like y'all made it. Y'all made it to the Neverland of on stage. Welcome. Alex, you want to kick us off with intros?
Yeah, happily. So my name is Alex Judd. I'm the program manager for Sustainably Grown, which is a program managed by SCS Global Services. Sustainably Grown is a high bar third-party annual certification program that addresses social and environmental sustainability for any crop grown anywhere in the world. So to illustrate this, we certify over 250 million pineapples each year, more bananas than that, plus a significant amount of olive oil, salad greens, table grapes, tree nuts, and other products throughout North America, South America, Africa, and Europe. We have a base standard and a series of optional trailblazer claims that recognize producers who demonstrate even higher levels of performance. And then that's that program, but SCS as a company also happens to audit Global Gap and EFI. So we are kind of a one-stop shop when it comes to looking for CB.
Awesome. Every time I read your list of commodities and you say pineapple, I just crave pineapple. Every time. All right, Rebecca, let's meet you.
Thanks, Madeline. My name is Rebecca Anderson. I'm the technical manager for Global Gap North America. We are a brand of certification solutions that provide and promote safe and responsible farming practices worldwide. We cover food safety, environmental stewardship, and of course, workers' health and safety and welfare. We cover agriculture, so plants, but also aquaculture and floriculture as well. We're in 138 different countries, over 200,000 certified producers, and about half of those actually have our GRASP, the Global Gap Risk Assessment on Social Practices standard.
Amazing. Carla, hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Madeline. So I'm Carla Cook. I am EFI Certification Manager. I oversee the certification program, which in addition to audits and corrective actions and certification, EFI also is a workforce development resource that commits growers to continuous improvement and helps drive business performance via worker-manager collaboration.
Love it. Awesome. Well, welcome all of you. Thank you for being here and taking this deep dive into these benchmarked certification programs within ECIP. So I've got a couple of questions for each of you. The first one I'm going to throw at Rebecca. So my first question is, why do you think it's important to have a mix of certification programs and non-audit programs within the produce industry?
Yeah, thanks, Madeline. That's a really important question. I think that ECIP's approach to having certification and non-audit programs is very productive for industry to establish goals to work towards, but also to provide a pathway. First, for the certifications, I think it's really important that we give credit for people that are doing the hard work. We really appreciate the gold star method in ECIP because with certifications, there's audit preparation, SOPs, training, and everything in between takes so much effort. And the certifications are a powerful message to say, hey, we're doing this great thing. Here's all the hard work, and we want to share that. But the mix of certifications that are in there is really important because each one is a little bit different. EFI is more leadership-based, Global Gap more farm-based, SPEDA more processing-based, and these are my opinions. But each operation is a different size, has a different focus, and so these market options need to be available for them. And gives a space also for competition, but also collaboration between these groups, which is also important, because then we're focusing on, what's important, and that's the workers on the farms. For non-audit programs, you have those large organizations that have the capacity to have, huge teams and do the surveys and have good marketing, and there's a space on this platform for those folks. But also critically, there's a capacity building option for producers that need to start somewhere, and using the self-assessments, using the learning tools, this gives them a place to do that. And this is a very pre-competitive environment. So then we can start to collaborate with each other to provide tools and training and materials all together that would otherwise not be available. And that's a really good thing.
Amazing. Thanks for that explanation. Perfect. All right, Alex, you're up next.
Sure.
How do you see ECIP and certification programs working together to create a more resilient industry?
Yeah, happily. So there is room for both ECIP and certification programs in the battle to create effective change within the industry. ECIP provides a great entry point for producers to start to consider their systems against some really important ethical considerations. As a self-assessment, there's a lot of learning potential, and it gives people access to the ECIP lab. But there's also a lower level of oversight provided than there is through third-party certification programs. These certifications provide additional assurance and allow people to make marketable claims of the actual state of conditions on the ground. So rather than being in opposition to one another, ECIP and certification programs really provide services to different niches in the market and create a pathway for growers to successfully improve their operations and then communicate their achievements to others in the market. And it can go the other direction as well. I mean, we have a certified client who just got certified and reached out to me just the other day to ask how to enter into ECIP. So the bridge goes both ways. The learning community is great, and it's great to be able to support one another.
Yeah, learning community is great. Everybody's helping each other navigate this new system, this new platform, and this new need in the industry. All right, Carla, coming for you. How do you think ECIP can augment and enhance certification programs?
Yeah, well, a couple of thoughts, and just reinforcing what both Rebecca and Alex have said and have mentioned. I would say that ECIP is a place to start. So if people want to engage and start, or have to have audits or demonstrate compliance, ECIP is the place to start. So there's not somebody looking over your shoulder. There's not an auditor. So that is a way of using the self-assessment tool to understand what they need to understand, what they need to learn, how to better align to the ethical charter principles, become familiar with the ethical charter principles as well. I think it's also the opportunity, because I would say that this is the first time that there is this tool that is very accessible to growers. And it's on your own time and at your own pace type of setting, where it's not about, okay, I'm going to pass or fail this audit, but rather, okay, what is this about, and how do I understand it? So I would say the accessibility of a new tool, and having the kind of the freedom at some point of starting it in their own pace is it's a way, it's a valuable process to becoming or entering the process of becoming certified.
Lovely. Thank you. All right, back to you, Rebecca. What would be the first step for growers who aren't engaged with ECIP or a certification program to start building a social responsibility program at their organization?
Yeah, the first step is always the hardest. I think this is a great question, and I would look at it as first to start with the ethical charter, which ECIP is built upon. And the ethical charter is specific to the produce industry. It was built with the understanding of what happens in our world in produce. And it's only about 4 pages, so it's not overwhelming, but it goes over the key areas and principles of social practices. And when people are reading this, they say, hey, we already have these humane treatment policies. We already have policies on child labor. And so it makes this idea of social practices seem less daunting. So I would say even before going to the ECIP lab, start there so you have an understanding of the expectations, and then do the self-assessment, as Carla was saying, because you have to know where you are in relation to some of these practices, and then utilize the lab. It has resources, videos, and those kinds of things to get an idea of what can be done in certain areas. And I know that sounds like a lot easier said than done, but it will take time. So it's about devoting that time as well. In terms of implementing the new practices, I think it's about thinking small and working in steps. So deciding, what is a practice that you can take to your farm, like piece rate recording systems or anonymous grievance systems or something, whatever makes sense, and implement those in stages or implement those in certain locations. Some locations may be more open to experiment than others, and then start there and see what works and take what works to a larger basis. And then finally, I would say that sometimes the role of sustainability and social practices gets laid onto the food safety contact, because that's the one that buyers have been working with. So be empowered to contact people in HR, loop them into the process. They have the payroll systems, the recording systems, they're intimate with that information, and loop them into the process so there's more ownership over these programs.
I love that. I am always amazed when I talk to, somebody interested in ECIP or certification, how much they already have in place. It's just not being recorded and talked about and just starting there. Like, it's already happening. Just where can you start? So that's a great tip. Thank you. All right, Alex, back over to you.
Sure.
How do you see the future of social responsibility evolving in the produce industry specifically?
Yeah, so social responsibility in the produce industry has been evolving alongside government regulation, as well as retailer and consumer demand. The European Union has been doing a lot, but retailers also have a lot of sway in influencing the priorities for social responsibility. And as a result, we're seeing a bit of a premium market crop up for producers who meet the higher levels of assurance. One of the changes that I think will be critically important as we move forward is pairing an economic incentive with the demands for high performance. There are still markets that exist for those who don't meet the high standards that are promoted by ECIP and certification programs. So if farmers are going to be going farther and demonstrating that they're doing the right things, then they need to be able to command a higher price point. It's about putting the right incentive structure in place.
Lovely. All right, Carly, you ready to wrap us up? Last question. We're not here very long, but it's been a good time. All right. What do you want growers to know about audit-based certification programs and how they can interact with capacity building programs like ECIP? You're on mute, just FYI, mute. There it is.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, great question. I would say that number one, growers have to understand that all of this is about a change in mindset. Transitioning between ECIP and certification, whatever certification they choose to use, it will be about mindset. It's a continuous improvement versus a check in the box. And but continuous improvement, not in the just in the surface. It's going deep down into their processes, procedures, even their own organizational culture, how they do things, how they go about things, how they go about their processes and procedures. I would say it's this mindset is taking advantage of what these programs have to offer, the platform that there are available and the tools that there are now, because I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this was not available for anybody. And like Alex was saying, that this is something that will enable them to do better in the marketplace. And then also that with ECIP and then with certification, I would say that expectation has never been be 100% compliant. That is not the expectation. It's not pass or fail. That is not the expectation. The expectation is for understanding, hey, this is my process. I can assess myself against the process and see where I need to work a little bit more. Where do I have loose ends that put me at risk? And also that just in general, this whole process is better for their operations, and it will make their operations effective, more lean in a way, and improve their narrative and their marketing language for potential new growers. New customers.
Amazing. Y'all are so smart. Thanks for joining. That was my last pointed question that I had for you guys. So I'd like to bring in the audience, and feel free to pop any questions in the chat. Sky, if you would also pop back on stage so we can ask you any technical questions, that would be great. Yeah, pop questions in the chat or on LinkedIn, and we will kick off with that. All right, looking like we got one here. Okay, this one is, I am not seeing how ECIP does not just replace work for those who already have done a certification program. Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. As I mentioned earlier, I have a client who recently got certified and then reached out to us and said, okay, how do I get involved with ECIP? And we encourage that sort of interaction. When somebody finishes their audit program, when they're certified, we'll share information about ECIP. And part of that is that going through an audit program is not just an achievement where you put a star on your product and say, I did good things. It's taking part in this continuous learning process, this continuous improvement process, like Carla was saying, where having access to ECIP and the ECIP lab allows people to dig deeper into some of these topics and to engage in this learning community, where people share what's worked for them, things that they've tried and didn't work so well, and allows people to improve together as a whole. So even if you have already achieved recognition through a certification program, it's worth spending a little bit of time reaching out to ECIP, getting involved, and taking part in this learning community.
Amazing. Okay, looks like we got another one here. Some of my growers hold one of these benchmark certifications. Do they still have to pay for ECIP? And how do they get the certification into ECIP Lab? Maybe Sky?
Right, so as I mentioned in my presentation, please just email the support at ethical charter program. Alexandra, can you put that email? Thank you. Just email the certification there, and after we validate it, we will give you that gold star and a complimentary subscription for Gorilla.
And the assessment, the A in lab, becomes optional if you have that gold star. You just really should work with your supplier if they expect you to go in and use that assessment, or get more of those green stars, or if you're solid with just that gold star. So that does become optional, but just no expectations of your supplier. All right, who did we lose? Nobody? We're still all here? Okay, I heard the little door go off. Looks like we have one more for right now, but feel free to pop those in. We still have some time, so if you have more questions, put them in there. All right, how do you think audits will evolve as non-audit programs like ECIP take hold in the industry? Maybe Rebecca?
Yeah, I can take that. My first thought is that it will be easier for people to comply with audits now that they're ready for it. But yeah, I think there's a natural evolution of standards just because we have to revise each year, and these sort of benchmark programs and us benchmarking. The process that you all took us through with Sustainability Consortium helped us get better. It identified some areas where we, didn't cover and we need to think about for future iterations. But I think as certifications and non-audit programs go side by side, it helps industry move forward. But I think there's always going to be a place for verification. But my hope is that verification process becomes smarter. So more information is in these platforms, buyers start to trust it. They start to trust the information that's in there and the products and where it's coming from. And then we can use our resources and target specific areas that, need that extra scrutiny. So verification where it matters most. could give you a few examples, but there is limited resources in terms of the number of auditors and their qualifications, and we really need to use the systems to be smarter about how we're using the verification as a tool. So that's my hope, and I'm excited to work on that together.
Amazing. Yeah, auditor availability is a real thing. All right, we got another one here. I have completed my bachelor's in agriculture with a specialization in soil science. I am from Pakistan and interested in working with ECIP benchmark certifications. How can I contribute to this field and gain practical experience? What are the steps to join and work in this program? Anybody have any ideas?
I mean, for me, I'm just like, go be an auditor, but
We need more.
that's a specific type of person who's willing to, do that sort of travel and those kinds of things. But through this benchmarking program, there were different roles to do the analysis of the comparison between the different standards. So there's organizations like the Sustainability Consortium that could use people who are knowledgeable about these types of practices. So there's a whole network of people. There's other people who do consulting on social practices audits, people who write the programs. So there's all kinds of different avenues. It really just depends sort of what you're looking for. And I think with the background that person has, they'd be queued up for those types of positions. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, perfectly. Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We are at the end, unless any questions come in the last 10 seconds. Thank you so much, Rebecca, Alex, and Sky, and Alexandra, tech person back there, for joining me today and sharing your insights. It's been wonderful. Any additional questions that crop up, support@ethicalcharter.org, and we'll see you all next time.